Ready, set, make the wish, go!
As she tosses a coin into Italy's famous Trevi Fountain, Sophie Delisio knows her wish has already come true.
Good on you, Soph.
Simply being alive. Time and again, her parents Ron and Caroline and big brother Mitchell prayed for Sophie's survival after not one but two major accidents.
Imagine how long it took to carve that statue, so. All of those
10
statues.
billion zillion years.
I know.
And they're here in Rome to honour the woman they believe answered those prayers, Australia's soon-to-be saint, Mary MacKillop. Do you believe Sophie's survival is a miracle?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely.
When did you decide that? When did you think this is Mary MacKillop?
When we saw our surgeon walk out of the room with his hands up in the air, and he's not necessarily a religious person, and said it was a miracle, it's a miracle, I think it was a big point in our life.
A lot of people say that you're one of Mary MacKillop's miracles. Do you think that?
Well, really, well, yes, sometimes.
What do you think, Mitchell?
I reckon a miracle is something that no one expected to happen. For example, Sophie is one of Mary MacKillop's miracles, and she survived from Mary MacKillop.
She was the no-nonsense nun from the tiny town of Penola in South Australia. But it's here in Rome where Mary MacKillop's story goes from local hero to Catholic saint, an international religious accolade of the highest order that has taken more than 100 years since her death. And next week, St Peter's Square below me will be bursting with Aussie pride as Mary MacKillop becomes Saint Mary of the Cross. She'll join esteemed company here in the sacred halls of the Vatican, heart of the Catholic faith. Deep within these secret vaults, Mary's story will take its place in the ancient archives, along 10,000 saints dating back to the 8th century. An extraordinary collection of precious journals that fills 85 kilometres of shelving. Mary was given the nod for her halo back in February by the man himself, Pope Benedict XVI. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. It's the Pope who gives final approval for sainthood, and it's taken this long for an Australian to make the grade. How important do you think Mary MacKillop is for Australia now?
Firstborn saint, native-born saint. How could anybody be more important? How do you measure that in terms of the effect on a country? You know, that's really hard to do.
Vatican officials like Monsignor Robert Sarno sifted through Mary's background with a fine-tooth comb for any unsaintly skeletons in her closet, like rumours of the odd tipple. Was Mary MacKillop a drinker?
Well, from what I understand is that no, of course she was not a drinker in the sense that she had a drinking problem.
But that was levelled at her, that was a criticism.
Yeah, it was, but I think that she had some sort of a digestive problem, and she was told that a little bit of a nip every now and then would kind of help the digestion a little bit.
Tummy problems aside, Mary MacKillop was a trailblazer of her time. A strong and independent nun who in the late 1800s formed the Sisters of St Joseph and began her work here in Penola in rural South Australia, educating underprivileged children. She wasn't afraid to challenge her church superiors, which at one point got her excommunicated. She was reasonably brave, I felt. She did things when she knew it wouldn't be popular.
I wouldn't have said reasonably brave, I would have said very brave.
Is it true that she had exposed paedophilia?
Indirectly, she herself, as far as I know, did not. We don't know whether it was paedophilia. All I know at this point was that it was a scandalous behaviour.
For the past 9 years, Sister Maria Casey has been working towards Mary MacKillop's canonisation. You're basically been in charge of this.
Yes.
Why should Australia be excited about getting its first saint?
It's hard to tell why it's whether it's the saint bit or the recognition of a wonderful woman who had a most amazing life history.
Mary's sainthood is like winning the Catholic Olympics. It's taken years of research and intense lobbying to get her story anywhere near the Vatican. But what secured it was not one, but 2 miracles. In other words, extraordinary occurrences that have no medical or scientific explanation. Mary's first miracle, a woman cured of leukemia, has never been fully revealed at the request of the patient. But the remarkable details of her healing are all here in closely guarded Vatican records.
I do feel her presence. I feel she's with me. I feel she's praying for me.
Kathleen Evans was Mary's second miracle. Her lung cancer, which doctors predicted would consume her body, suddenly disappearing. Were there any doubts at all with the Mary MacKillop miracles?
None, and not even from non-Catholic doctors in Australia. The case was so radical and so inexplicable that doctors both in Australia, who were also non-Catholic as part of the team, and the doctors in Rome felt that there was absolutely no possible human explanation for what happened.
You don't believe in miracles,
Well,
clearly.
no. And in the 20th century, who should believe in miracles? I do want to.
Dan Barker, a former Anglican minister, now atheist, is one who isn't buying all the Mary mania.
Suppose it's true. Suppose there is this dead woman floating up there somewhere for a century, and thousands of people are praying to her, right? She has this ability to answer their prayers and do a miracle, to cure lung cancer or leukemia or burn victim or whatever else it was. And in an entire century, she picks 2 people. And the other thousands, she decides to ignore them. She just decides, well, no, I don't care. I'm not going to listen to them. Doesn't that make her something of a moral monster?
Why aren't miracles performed for everybody?
It's a good question, and I don't have the answer. I don't think anybody does. But when these things do happen, we're amazed.
Did you ever consider Sophie Delezio as a potential miracle?
We did. Sophie is alive today and is considered to be a miracle by her parents and by some of her doctors, but she also had an enormous amount of medical intervention.
Okay, here we are. 9-year-old Sophie may have not qualified as an official miracle, but try telling that to the Delecios.
There you are.
Beautiful.
From our point of view, we had a lot of people praying for a miracle, the survival of Sophie, and we believe Mary was part of that.
6 years ago, Sophie Delezio nearly died when a car crashed into her Sydney daycare centre. With burns to 85% of her body, she lost her feet, a hand and an ear. Then, unbelievably, 2 years later, she was hit by another car at a pedestrian crossing near her home. Throughout it all, the family prayed intensively to Mary MacKillop and believed Sophie's survival was a direct result. Wow, look at this room.
Yeah, my bed's my favourite part.
This is a fabulous room. Mary is now very much part of the Delezio family. Her image is by the children's bed and even accompanies Sophie into every one of her operations.
That's me when I was a baby.
and then Mary MacKillop right there.
When you go into operations, what does your mum say to you?
Well, be brave. Remember that Mary MacKillop is always by your side.
And does that feel good?
Yeah, it makes me feel really happy because I normally start to cry in operations because I'm really scared.
The feel-good story of Mary's sainthood is a welcome boost for the Catholic Church as it battles to recover from recent scandal and to maintain its relevance.
Now, Ian, on Thursday, we've got a touring group from Ballarat.
And they're making the most of it. In Penola, where she opened her first school, Mary merchandise can be found everywhere. On the local menu, you can even get Mary McScollops.
Well, even if you don't believe, you do know that she was a good woman.
A really good woman. A really good woman, a woman who had her convictions, who lived by them, and did a lot of good for people. And basically that's the Christian message, love God and love one another. That's our market, that's our product, that's what we're selling, that's what she sold. And I think Australians will buy it.
Australians can stand on their head and pray to Mother Goose and speak in tongues if they want. It's a free country. But as a proud secular country, I would think Australia would be sort of rolling its eyes at this undue amount of attention that we're putting on this apparently a very nice woman, but who's dead. And she's been dead and she can't do anything now.
Look at this, kids.
Whoa.
We're here. Finally, eh? And that tent up there, that's where the Pope's going to go.
Come next week, when the Pope finally declares Mary a saint, 8,000 Australians, including the Delicios, will be here in St Peter's Square.
Look at the colour in that screen.
Why did you feel you had to be here? She's just so special.
She's a big part in our life, so we have to do it.
And whether or not you're a believer, there's no denying it will be an historic moment.
What do you think Mary MacKillop will be thinking now, that she's about to become a saint?
She'll be really excited.
Yeah. She'd think this is an extraordinary thing to happen.
She'll probably be having a party right now.
She's probably thinking this is a miracle.
Yeah, let's have a party.
Fair enough.
Hello, I'm Liz Hayes. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.